Hi everyone, today we are speaking with one of my dearest colleagues, Dr. Julien. Christine, thank you so much for being here and agreeing to be on my Meet My STEM Army series.
Thank you for having me, Kate. I'm really excited to be able to chat with you a little bit about me and what I do.
Yay! For those of you who do not know her, Christine is a brilliant software engineer at the University of Texas. She's a professor in the School of Engineering and also the Assistant Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Not only that, she conducts fascinating research on how to develop models for unpredictable environments like unsupervised children's movements in a neighborhood. But before we get into all that cool research that she's doing, Christine, please tell me about yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
Sure. So I don't know where to start, but I was born in Washington, D.C., but I grew up in Missouri, which is what I consider to be my first home. I grew up in Kansas City, but then spent a lot of time in St. Louis as well. I'm the baby in a family of 3 kids, but my older sister is just a minute older than me. She's a twin. And so I went to college in Missouri after I finished high school at Washington University in St. Louis. And I did both my undergrad and my doctoral degree there. And then I moved to Austin. We've lived here ever since. I'm now a professor at the University of Texas. My research area is software engineering, but I get to work with cool technology, smartphones, wearable devices, smartwatches, that kind of stuff.
That is so fascinating. My husband's from St. Louis, and he's always trying to push me to go try to teach at WashU, so we might have to talk about that later. But my question now is how did you know that computer science, and you also have a degree in biology, how did you know those were the 2 things you wanted to pursue, or how did you determine your passion for STEM?
Well, I loved science and math and stuff from elementary school. I was the super nerdy elementary school kid who loved science and math all the time. And so I knew I had this dream I was going to go to Caltech just because I don't know, that's where all of the cool science people went to school when they grew up. So I knew that I wanted to study science in college. And when I started at Washington University, I started in biology, and that was my major throughout college. And I intended to go to medical school. That was my plan, and become a doctor. But growing up, my older brother and my dad were super into computer science, and I had this incorrect, stereotypical impression of what a computer scientist was. And I had zero interest in being that person. So I didn't touch computers, didn't do anything with computers until I was a sophomore in college. And I kind of accidentally took a computer programming class in college. And it turns out it was my favorite thing ever. So I added a double major. So I added a major in computer science. But I did not write a computer program until I was almost 20 years old. So that's kind of interesting. But I really just liked how when you write a program, it's writing a set of instructions to tell a computer what to do, and it will literally do exactly what you tell it to do and nothing else. And I think that's really awesome. And so I really love figuring out kind of the algorithms behind that and kind of the ambiguity if you don't exactly tell the computer what to do, it has to try to figure it out. I love all of that. I love thinking about how to make algorithms faster or better or more energy efficient because we're running on battery operated devices now, or to use less memory if we're running on tiny sensors and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I finished college with degrees in computer science and biology, but I decided instead of going to medical school, I would go to graduate school in computer science, and that's how I ended up here.
I love what you were saying about how you're trying to communicate with the computer and it's going to do exactly what you're saying. It's almost like it's a puzzle. You're trying to put these pieces together and like you said, in the most efficient way. But I'm curious how you do that with your actual research. So what are you studying right now and how do you use your computer science degree there?
Yeah, so I'm actually a software engineer, which is a term which gets thrown around a lot, right? And so my degrees are in computer science, and software engineering is kind of a special subdiscipline of computer science. And that's really about kind of how do you engineer, solve the problem of building software that runs on computers. And so again, it's that focus on kind of giving the computer the instructions of what the human wants it to do. But my work is even more specific than that. So I'm a software engineer who works specifically on mobile and pervasive computing is what we call it. But basically any of those smart environment things that you've heard about, like the Internet of Things or whatever. And so the applications that we try to write run on smartphones or smartwatches or sensors that are embedded in a smart city, or your smart thermostat that's in your house or lights or whatever. And so the thing that's really challenging about these environments is you never know what they're going to look like. You walk into some new smart environment and you don't know what the lights are going to be like in that environment. You don't know what other people might be around. So you don't really know what the kind of environment that your application is going to run in looks like. So I work on something that we call middleware, which is just a fancy way of saying the computer program that runs between the application and the computer. And the goal of middleware is actually just to make it easier for other people to write applications. So we try to hide all the things that are hard. We try to hide all the unpredictability of the network, the devices that are around, the data that's being collected, just to make it super easy for kind of average programmers to write programs that do fun things in these environments.
That's absolutely fascinating. And so do you work with graduate students and undergrads with that, or who's your cohort?
Yeah, so I have graduate student researchers that kind of work on the research projects with me, and then I also have a ton of undergraduate student researchers that work on, in fact, the undergraduate students get to work on kind of more fun projects because they're more one-off projects. Right? I have a couple of undergraduate students who are graduating this semester who've been working on, not kidding, actually trying to use visible light, like the light that comes out of light bulbs, to communicate information. So if you flash the light bulb on and off really fast, you can flash it on and off faster than a human can see it. But it's still a 1 and a 0, just like any other 1 and 0 in a computer. And so you can actually use that to communicate information. And so it's a pretty fun project and a great use of a smart environment, right? Because you can't see it at all.
Oh yeah. Oh, how fun. I had no idea you were doing stuff like that, like creating Morse code out of light, and oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna have to talk more about that later. So how do you think STEM could change or save the world? We're shifting gears here a little bit.
Okay. Clearly like science, tech, engineering is kind of fundamental to many innovations that happen in the world. For computing specifically, I think about the fact that there's really, and what I tell my own kids is like, there's no facet of the future that's not going to require computers and software to run it. And so it doesn't matter what career you're going to do. Is it from art and music to actually being a computer programmer? You're going to use computers and you're going to use computer science effectively. And the thing that's kind of interesting about the current times is we've really seen that during this COVID-19 crisis, like the fact that we've all become super reliant on the software that allows us to collaborate virtually. And the great irony or dichotomy of that that's crazy is for years we've seen screens and like digital interaction as causing effectively social distancing. And now it is actually the tool that's bridging social distancing for us, which is just, it's super interesting to me. And I think we're going to learn so much. And that's just an example of kind of how like science and technology comes out of these kind of just human needs. Like we just need to solve a problem and we turn to science and engineering and tech to do it. And I don't think that's going to change anytime. And so you see tons of problems emerging in like health and energy and transportation and collaboration like we're doing right now. That's going to demand all of these kind of STEM tech engineering solutions.
Yeah. What I'm interested to see too is what is the next step. Like we're going to come up with a bunch of different techs to solve this current problem, and then how is that technology going to be used to solve other problems, and then what that like. So I'm interested to see in the longevity of this research and what's going to come of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to a lighter topic. That got a little heavy. So because I'm a chemist here, I'm going to throw some little chemistry at you. If you were an element, which one would you be?
Okay, so that's tough. I haven't thought about chemistry in longer than I'd care to admit. I don't think about it on a regular basis like you do.
What?
But when I think about like the element that's the most important to kind of the stuff that I do, it might be cliche, but I'm going to go with silicon.
All right.
The basis of computing. Also, super common. I like the beach, maybe a little bit too. So I got my sand in there. Yeah, silicon, I guess, is where I go.
That is such a good one. Nobody has given me the same answer yet. So this is
Really?
So awesome. Yes, everybody says something that's relative to their own research, or maybe just like I like hydrogen because it's explosive. So something to do with you. But silicon's a great one. I try to predict too. I didn't think that you were going to come up with that. I thought you were going to go with a heavier metal for some reason, but silicon's a good one. I'll take it. Well, everybody, this is Dr. Christine Julien. She is a fantastic, wonderful software engineer, and I thank you so, so much for giving me a little bit of your time and for being on my Meet the STEM Army series. So thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. See you later.